recording and get on with it. Check out what's going on this week. I know all those pumps, probably wiped out a lot of the calls that we were looking at. Or, not even looking at calls that we would have in Thor that are not here. That's okay. Let's see. It's looking back at that Jito, like we're saying, boom, that was a great little play there. There's no calls going on right now, so just kind of reviewing. Looks like it broke through that invalidation line, and it's holding up pretty nice. So I'd say still that interesting part, that interesting line that we'd be looking at is that 2.91 area.
Toss up the old stream.
Oh my god.
Blue balling us. You're blue balling us.
I'm blue balling everyone, like, goddamn. Here. Let us
frogs fuck.
Release the screen. Yeah, there we go. Now you got something to look at. But yeah. Let's see. That was a good entry down there. I wish I went more hard, but like I said in the previous week, I'll be honest, I was waiting for a fatter dip because there's a one day that was a shout out right there. But, it happens. Got a little in there. Feel a little bit good. It's alright. Besides that, like I said, this one's gonna be probably a quick one. Just got a nice little resistance line. It was resistance, now it's support. So we'll just watch the action there. It could be a good buyback zone. As the time goes on, that 200 EMA on let's go to the 4 hour. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's pretty low. On the 1 hour, it looks like it would meet up there, but it looks like the 50 will probably meet up with that line. We'll see how everything holds out. But let's go to something with some calls. Pyth. I'll hit up this one real quick. I haven't been putting it in the circuit as much. This one I totally forgot I had. When you put limit orders into Jupiter, they just disappear from your wallet. then I forget. I forget. It was been so long. I forgot. But yeah, I had bought a little back down here. And then I was like, oh crap. I had to go check I looked at Jupiter and I had some limit orders hanging out still. I guess I was going for 50 or something, but I might just hold that because it's been sitting there anyways. But it's kind of nice to find some hidden loot in limit orders. Let's see, let's pull this back to the 1 day. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been messing with this. Looks like earlier we had some action going on down through here in these lines, but looked like good calls. It hit pretty nicely and popped up from them. Broke through resistance, destroyed. Maybe it hit this short. It could have been, since it's been a couple weeks. Yeah, it probably hit those shorts pretty nicely, it looks like, besides that line there. But we'll clear it up just a little bit. We got a 43 short on the 15. Oh, 43. 4? Yeah, whatever. Throw it up around there. And the 1 hour. Yeah, the same call. And the 45. Looks like. I'll say pushing to 46. Especially with like short calls. Like limit calls, I like to do the higher number or the lower number. Yeah, with short calls, sometimes I like to check out push it a little higher, especially if I'm going to be entering some kind of zone. But doing that, just draw myself a beautiful little rectangle here, and then we quickly find ourselves a good suggested lower time frame sell zone. Cool. Could mean it's like a little double top action that goes on there for this time frame. Looks pretty decent. And then I think our bottom area where I think that was a resistance line. Yeah, that was a resistance. Is now going to be the support. Looking up here. So we can kind of say goodbye to some of these guys down there and focus on what's going on here. Let's see. Like 7 to 12%. If you get there right in the middle, and then you hit the short down, yeah, that's in like a 9% play, which could be pretty sweet. That's not bad. Like I said, usually the 15s end up being like a couple percents, 1, 2, 3. That's all right, but when it's pushing 7, close to 10%, I start paying attention a bit more with these guys. So that seems like a pretty solid call. What's going on through here? Nothing really. Like I said, a lot of these are going to be kind of a little wiped out, just because it's like bonk. All the calls are gone, just because we have some welcome spikes. I did not see it get up to almost 5.5 up here. It's 5.3. Damn. Okay. I feel like that we could see some kind of retrace action on those too when you get those kind of wild spikes that go up like that. Just a fat fingered slippage by some people chasing or some whales just dropping in. That's pretty nice to see. Typically that could kind of retrace. We'd probably see it maybe retracing back up a little bit too, because I see it showing some little strength. I don't want to say a logarithmic move, but definitely looking like some patterns are forming on that chart. So bonk's pretty good. Definitely, if you bought in, if you went hard and you're hanging out with bonk, man, things are looking pretty nice, especially with all those listings that happened recently. I think that was definitely some aided in the bullish moves. Let's see, Jupiter's got some calls. What's up, Jupe? Jupe's been doing me proud as well. Everything's been looking glorious. So, of course, every long call is going to be looking looking great right now. But let's see. Oops. Yeah. So, which is pretty interesting because we had drawn ourselves some longs. Looks like they went pretty good. Went over well. I always like to look. Last time we spoke was the 6th and 30th with some previous moves. So yeah, looks like we were bouncing off that zone last week. I remember talking about that. We were hitting that zone pretty nice and just continued up. If we're looking at the 1 day, gonna go in the 4 hour. Also looks really great, and it's crazy because I think we were talking about before how these invalidation lines, I could have deleted some of them, but I left them because they were some like 1 day or 4 hour invalidation lines for a short and a long. And you could see that in the past it listened pretty nicely, and then again it decently listened here, and it's always key. Never gets old talking about how these things are just magic, and they bust through them, cool, but then the secondary action of looking at how it goes against it, maybe if it's acting like a resistance or support, is just kind of bouncing off those lines once again and kind of hitting that double rejection from that support. We just continued on up. Didn't listen to this short. This was it was a suggested zone to kind of sell a little bit. Wasn't the worst, but I was keeping my eyes in the 114, and this was an old call at the 1.29, and I just left that up there too. I think we may have readjusted it for some stuff, but that hit pretty nicely as well. I didn't really take it, but yeah, you could have been up 17 to currently 10% if you took that short or sold and bought back in. You had a little more buying power. Now, that short that didn't really play out, this was another old one that I just left on the board because I felt like looking back in time, it played some pretty decent roles in the price action. So sometimes when you're looking at lines and like, oh, that looks like an important line, kind of leave it, see if it comes back into play. And this really, it didn't look like much here in the 4 hour. Look at the 1 hour still too. That was just a quick bust out of that. Great. And then it danced up through here. But now it seems like we're getting some of that action around that line again and acting as kind of that resistance zone. So I think 114 is still a pretty important line, a pretty important area to look at. In the 106, interestingly enough, is another interesting little support zone that we got going on here now. I would say, let's see if we got any calls. A 4 hour. Ooh, interesting. 89 to 88. 89, 88, which is interesting because we got something down here. So all we have to do now, we had that previous buy zone, but we'll do some adjusting here. So now, as I was saying, it's kind of interesting how these guys, you can't just erase everything off the board because sometimes they really could come back into play. That'd be a pretty significant drop too, so we're entering some volatile times. I wouldn't be surprised with some rapid, quick up and down movements. Let's see, 89, 88 is a valid. It goes back up, which is great. I mean, that's a great call. I welcome it. Let's go back to $1 to $1.10. But let's see. I think this is cool, and I do want to keep it, but I think I can make a mental note of that 199 or 198. I think those are good to have. I almost want to keep it on the board, but I think we'll do is change this short to the invalidation line at 122.8. Was 122.8 right around there. We'll just change that up a bit. So, which is interesting because now we got maybe a new zone. I think I'm just gonna call it and say, hey, the 114. I'll remember that one, and I'll keep the others. But now we got that zone. Looks like we have found that it likes to be between 122 and $1.06. So those are going to be our signs of what direction Jupiter wants to go. If we can make support at 122, great. I think we'll be moving up. But if we can't, if we find ourselves slipping between 106 and you see it kind of bouncing off the resistance there, once it turns from support into resistance and you start seeing that line not break through, that's an indication that we have more room down to go. And then now about 89 cents, you might be able to catch it. 98 is another resistance line, but I'll keep, that's something we'll zoom in on when it becomes time. But at this moment, when you're looking at the 1 hour, it looks pretty reliable that we're in a range. So this is our indicators of, it's got a room to play, but is it going to break out in either direction? That's going to tell you something. The 101, that's a little bit of a play. 101, so kind of looks at that 98. So I think I'd still use these support zones as a little buy zones if I wanted to. I wouldn't do the 106 to buy, but I'd probably be looking at the 98 to the 89 cents. So I just make a mental note for myself saying, hey, cool, this looks like a zone where I'd probably want to keep a little buy zone. It reinforces that on the 15-minute and the lower time frame, that could be a nice little swing trade. And then maybe, selling off of that too. So it could be front running some of this because it's $1.07. We could front run it by a cent just based off of our resistance. But for now, you got that, and you can zoom out and see, go on the 1 day to make it make sense. And then, so now, quickly, in a couple moments, we were able to kind of chart maybe where Jupe could be going, what's going on with it. It could be a decent little pullback that happens too. I mean, we did pumps on. I
Why
think people
did
be down to
the
take some
worker
profits.
get right from the calendar factory?
Oh,
He took 1 day off.
I think Ryota is hot micing. You got a spicy mic.
Yeah, on the calendar you can take 1 day off. It will be less than 1 day.
Let's see here.
Hindi mo na gets?
Let's see.
Hindi niya
What are we
pwedeng,
doing next?
it's under 30 or 31 ang days. So he took 1 day off.
I think
So the
Ryota.
calendar is
You
incomplete.
got a hot mic. Yeah. Oh, nice. Thanks. All right. All right. What are we doing? Where are we going next? Let's see. So let's check out our good old pal Solana. Do we have calls? I don't know. I didn't check. Let's see. All these lines, it just told them to get out of town. Look at that. Ooh, 130. All right, let's go. So, again, just in review, what happened. My favorite little low zones are getting further and further away. You know, this was a glorious buy zone, the 117, 108. But I don't think, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of those. Bye-bye. I think we got, let's see, get rid of these. You know, these were some good indications a little bit ago of some lines to retrace. And I think before, too, we had some good action with this short here. This invalidation line did prove pretty nicely again. So I'll leave that. I like what I saw there. This guy, clean up the board. And the 202. That short, it didn't happen. And I'm thankful for it. We don't care. But that could be, you know, maybe a new. Honestly, looks like I'll just skip to it. Looks like the invalidation line for the 1 hour is sitting at 200. So 200 and change, to be exact, but close enough. So that's cool. We got that little line there. That must be an old Thor call, 271. You know, I like what I'm seeing there, but we'll adjust that down. I'm sure we'll see it soon enough. 229. Yeah. 230, and that's fine. Sweet. Is that all we got? Got any longs? Just a short? Okay. We just got a short. That's okay. So what do we do with something like that? We look at the 1 hour and see how our ranges do when we zoom in a bit. And it looks like they're pretty solid. I'd say the interesting part of how that short became the validation line, which is now the resistance, becomes support. Something you'll say over and over again, but it's worthy to note that how important those are and how they play out. And that's what most of us are using when we're trading a lot of times. It's just like looking where things switch up. And when that switch up, and you can see the pattern has been played out there, we're going to see what's good now. We're in the middle of those two zones. So in this case, I don't have as much information as, you know, if I had multiple calls to run off of. This is just a 1 hour. But I could see that if we hold that 200, and I think that's the kind of psychological number to 200. Hold the line, great. And it's also bouncing off the 1 hour 200 EMA. So that should be good. Makes sense, right? On the 1 hour call, why Thor would be mentioning that as a good idea for an invalidation. So we break through that, you break down through that line, then the 230 on the near term isn't looking as savvy, it's not looking as likely to hit. So Thor says, nah, not right now, not in the 1 hour time frame. So we use that information to kind of run it and say, cool, if it hits the 230, we're going to retrace what Thor has to say. So we'd probably retrace back down to here where we are currently, right in that range. So that's like a 7% move down from where that short call is, thus kind of making kind of a higher low in that regard, kind of going up, and then we'd hit that, bounce back down. It's a bit of one, you could say that, as it's building steam upward, it still could be a great momentum up. I feel like with BTC, it's been charging up a bit, and I think a lot of things are lagging. Once you see that Bitcoin dominance push back a little bit, I think Solana and then all the altcoins, they're having their moment, but I think we haven't really seen it yet. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting with a lot of people too. Is I mean, Bitcoin's surpassed all-time high, right? And Solana has not. And that's about 258. So the short call's not even near it. But I think if we build up nice and healthy, I think it gives us more room to charge up. So I'd rather slowly get to the all-time high and then pump. Let's go. Once you get the new uncharted territory, that's where I think we'll start seeing some really fat moves. But right now, I'd still be kind of wary, because that move that we made is pretty hot. It's pretty charged up on those buys. But if it's truly the bull, we'll see a lot more of that, I think. But right now, I think the consensus is there's a strong support at 160. So if I wanted to buy and I wanted to buy low, I'd keep that 160 in my mind, and I'd get a little more excited about it if the 200 was broken. But for now, looks like we're going to be using the 200 and 230 as the local ranges for Solana at the moment. Nice. Let's see here. What else do we got? I think, what was that, Doge? Yeah, let's see. I suspected it was doing some stuff. I was hoping it had more calls. Just looks like there's a call at the 22-cent mark, which could be pretty interesting if you're into that coin. I didn't really get too much, but I know just with all the hype and all the bull market, I think people are going to buy the coins that they know, the coins that they've always heard about, which is Doge, Bitcoin, perhaps Solana. And I think Solana is going to start defeating all those, I want to say, the prejudices of the past, but especially with Robinhood, was that reopening, putting Solana back up for trading on Robinhood. I think that's a good step forward too, in the general public's eye, and saying, hey, whatever happened in the past, it's over. A new era for Solana has begun. Even though we've already been there, hey, it's good to see some of the more of that movement. I think a quick thing I'd like to see personally myself is Sol BTC. What we got going on there, and that's kind of an interesting chart. It was kind of boring for some time, but I think now I'm getting more and more excited to kind of check this pair, because of when there's some volatile movements on Bitcoin, but you see Solana lagging behind. What's going on and how do you play that? Switching back and forth, especially with, was that Coinbase backed BTC is thrown on Solana now too. That's I think a really, really big move, because I know it has much more than TBTC, and so I think it's exciting. It's exciting to see a bit more of a Bitcoin getting backed on Solana, and hopefully it opens up the door to some, maybe the Thornal activities. Who knows? But it would be great to see. Anyways, keeping it rolling. We got not many calls. Looks like some volatile movements happened. Some invalidation lines were crossed. That's a good line, but I want to clean up my board a little bit. It's been time since I did some cleaning. I think this I'm going to say 0.0022, that 22 mark, It's still a good buy zone. It has been over and over again. I think a really solid zone to buy. There was a previous call that I think it's worthy of keeping on, especially some actions of things get really crazy and things get thrown out low, and then we have no calls on Thor. Sometimes it's nice to use some older calls, like on the 1 days that you had, just for reference, just so if we're getting into some weird territory, you'll know when to make some moves. And that's why I keep some of these on mine. Oh, well, it's invalidated. Thor doesn't show that on the board anymore. Well, cool, but it was mentioned in the past because it looked like it was going to happen. But sometimes when you put back into the zone where it was called previously, it could come back into those recommended zones, and Thor might throw it up again. And then when it does, if it does, you'll know it's even more confluence in that call you left on the chart. Now, anyways, what's going on currently? This was a short previously, and it's getting re-input as a short too. This is already. Oh, this is put on the 18th. Okay, so that's because we didn't hit it. All right. So yeah, I've left this 27 call short. Looks like I'd say Thor maybe technically got it. It was off by under %. Usually when I see that, I think I do give Thor the credit. It's like cool, but it was kind of front run a bit. But that's close enough to be like, okay, I think some of the play is in action right now. So we could see that retrace coming back up here and go through that play, but it kind of makes me go back and forth on that. And then the 118, the 21.8. So that's the invalidation line for this. So maybe I might adjust this a little bit. 21.8, and I know it's a resist or the invalidation line, but I'm just leaving it as green on my chart because it's just going to be a long call for me. And if you're unfamiliar, Sol BTC, when you reach, when you reach down here at the bottom, it goes down. That's a good time to use Bitcoin to buy Solana. And then if I were to hit this red line, or if you're familiar, I do have a long-awaited goal of up here. You go up and you hit the sell zone or the short zone. You're using your Solana to buy BTC. And then you keep rotating that, keep running that action, and you're just going to be getting either more BTC, more Solana, and you get to enjoy all the upwards movement and never really sideline yourself. So this is if you're just bullish on crypto altogether and you just don't want to be sidelined, or this is just a part of my portfolio of Solana and BTC that I use to just compound into each other. And sometimes these plays that I've been doing have gone over. I think I had an average of 2.5? No, it was like, I don't know. I think I had an average because I bought a bunch down at 2 and 25. I think I was right in the middle, so kind of at the 22, 23 mark is my average of when I switched into Solana. And so just been waiting. It's a big bag. I don't want to keep going back and forth with it, but I might start shaving it off once we hit these zones. But yeah, 31. Oh, and 38. Yeah, that's my dream line. So everyone knows the 38. That means that Bitcoin has lost dominance, and I imagine Solana is just going to some all-time highs. And at that point, that will be a good time to strike. Because when you do that, the concept is if you're to make it up to there, you just traded your Solana into Bitcoin, but now you have, 60% more Bitcoin. Yeah, it's pretty good. And honestly, it's a large bag that I'm trading with this. So that's why I don't frequently trade. In other calls, I probably would have switched out and called it down here. Because that's a 13% move. Cool. 22%. But these gold lines represent where my big shavings will be going into when I'll start exiting that trade. And again, you don't see it on the chart, but these were some one-day calls that were previously made in the past that, you know, I just really agree. I really would like to see, and I trust that we can get there. Just got to be patient. That's cool. That's a lowdown here, but long story short, this is what Thor's telling us. We got kind of a buy zone at the 21 and then a sell zone at the 27. So if we're only looking at what Thor had to say on the one-day chart, that's what we're looking at. And I imagine that we could get some more Solana. The more Solana goes up against BTC, the higher this chart will go. Nice. Yeah, let's see. There's some cool ones. Kind of went through the more decent ones I'm going into right now. I don't know if anyone watching right now had a coin they wanted to shout out, look into maybe. If you've seen something up on here, you had some questions about maybe. Let's see if I... Oh. Asking about Boo, I see. All right. All right. It's had some pretty volatile movements, so doesn't have to be white. Damn. Let's see. It may not. I probably should have asked Thor a little earlier. It's not going to have some relative calls at the moment, but as I don't trust it until it has like 10 minutes to refresh itself, and that's something. Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Oops. Everyone ignore. That I think that's a good note though. If you're ever trying to do what I'm trying to do right now, enter in a token, and sometimes it gives you an error code. You just kind of turn on your secure VPN off, and tends to work. Then you have to go through a refresh cycle. And then the refresh button doesn't work, so then you go ahead and do a hard refresh, re-log in. This is a ledger, so go back and forth here. And it throws us back in. You should go here, and this is a great note for anyone now. It looks like, boom, I got some calls. Now, let's see, this was made on 11/10. I think maybe someone had looked it up. I don't think Thor refreshed itself that quickly, and looking at this chart, it doesn't look like it's it hasn't totally refreshed itself yet. Wait, 0.01. Yeah, so I'd have to give it some time if I wanted some accurate readings, but it does look like it said, hey, there could be whatever previous call it was holding on to, and it could have busted through that already, so invalidated it. But if we wanted any idea of what it was doing at the moment, just to have something to talk about with it, 7.2, we'll go 7.19, 7. Sweet. And I'm just curious where we're lying on this. Oops. Yep, it's slipping out of my DLMM range right through here. It was spicy. It was going pretty good. Now we left it. Oh no. But I guess I'm a community member now, so that's cool. Gotta start appreciating the art or whatever. But that's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting chart. Memes are pretty interesting all the time, but what was really interesting too for me and to look at in this chart, because this is something that I always tend to see a lot, is when you see some crazy slip down or slipping up, it depends on how much market cap and how much liquidity is going on into it. But if you notice, I think it was last night, this had slipped down to this point. And now we went back up, almost retraced to the top, starting to go back down to this bottom. Now we've nearly re-entered that zone. So for me, looking at that, this was just a soul side of things, using that as a pair. So I don't really know where that compares, but it looks like, oh yeah, I guess right through here. So it looks like, I'd say, I know Thor mentioned this. Let's see if we can refresh it maybe as I was chatting. Yeah, see, it took it out. We have something new. Okay, there we go. This is, I think we got looking like a bit more accurate chart. So it's saying 8.8, which is right around where I was kind of mentioning. A little lower though, but it's probably taken us to that other little kind of it was a consolidation zone, but a good little support looks like was found right through here where we initially took off. So it looks like it's a big old retrace back down, kind of, you could say, sparked by some FUD, and then people probably rotating out of it, but you could see another rotation back in. So one zone would be that probably 1 cent mark, where that line that kind of slipped down to could hit that. But then I'd also say right down there. So if you're looking at this as a buy, I would say probably right around in that area. And that's a marginal move, right? Because that's a 20% box. So pick as what you will. But I'd honestly scoot that down a bit more anyways, right? To the 1 cent, down to that 73 cents. So it's there's a bit of a gap there, but I think from what Thor is telling us and what it kind of looks like on this chart visually, I think if you were interested in this and you did believe in it, I mean, it's not the most unhealthy looking coin out there. It looks like it could have some potential. The Twitter's all good. It's got solid amounts of buys and sells, plenty of volume compared to its liquidity. So as long as I like to see a lot of daily volume surpassing the total amount of liquidity, that's just a personal sign that I like to see too, seeing how much more is going on. And then of course for me personally, I had a DLMM, what's going on. I had that, I think I spoke about it, and I guess people, I guess we can quickly go back there. Oops. Right on. Oh, I guess I won't show the one that is mine because that's in a different wallet actually, but I'll explain what happens. Oops, I need to jot this down. Huh? What's going on here? Oh, I'm on dynamic, I see. So something cool I learned too. Let's see, and maybe some other people could take a little education back from this too. Is the bin steps, right? So when I was on the call with the Meteora guys last Saturday, I definitely learned quite a bit, which is pretty cool. In this case, this isn't the perfect chart to explain it with, but I could explain what I did. So initially when you're looking at something, especially with the charts, you got a 250 bin step and a 100 bin step. Obviously a lot more total values locked here, and a lot more action on the fees is generated right through there. Doesn't mean that this is not worth it. You could still get it picked up, but for what I was doing, the 100 bin step works pretty nice. And when 100, like a bin step, honestly, that was kind of arbitrary to me. I get it, like there's smaller bins and then you have a wider bin, but what does that mean? It means that if we go up here, I'm just going to throw in a number, and let's say you have 69 bins that is in each one of these kind of created ones, that you make it yourself. You can make your own little pairs and everything like that. You could set it up, create a pool. It's in the other option. You get 69 bins, cool, and then 100 bin step, boom. All right, what does that mean? That means in between each one of these bins is separated by a single percent, and then a 250 bin step is separated by 2.5%. So when you're looking at something like that, you're able to see. Look at that; it kind of bounced up a little bit. When you're looking at something like that, you could kind of dictate, how big of a range you're able to achieve. And one of the things that I did, I wonder if I had to inverse it now, but maybe I'm going to talk about this with a different coin. I don't know, is BT Cat pumping, but I'll try to explain it here of what I did. So imagine this guy just pumped, it was just pumped up a lot. And let's say like what I did around here. It had pumped a bunch, and I was like, okay, cool. Just so you guys can figure it out, we could look at another chart too, just going over a quick DLMM strategy. Basically, I took that and of thinking that we're higher. I want to do it with how this chart looks right now. But I slid this slider down about 5% lower. And then I took this guy and said I wanted about a 50, and I'm going to spread this up. I'm going to try and spread that down a little bit, and you have a maximum of 69 bins. So just to make sure everyone follows, I slid this bar down, and as you can see, as you slide these down, I'm losing bins. And then now I'm at current price, because I would want to do like a one-sided bin just to buy, to catch dips. And so I push this down a little bit too, because when there's high volatility, you're just kind of creating an extra little gap for yourself, from that movement. Especially if you think you got some dip action coming. And then you put about 50%, at least this is what I do. And then around 50%, 51, you're getting like 68. You could fine tune it from there, but I'm not too worried about that. And the pool creation, that's great because I'm not too far away. Those bins have been created. This is refundable for me after I withdraw funds and delete the position. So what I did there was then click bid ask, and now you have a bid ask cycle. So for me right now, my pool is really right here. So imagine, obviously the prices are different, but imagine where we are on, like my pool is about right through here. So it's doing majority of the Solana that I put in the pool. It's dancing right at its lowest here and lesser at the top. That's because this is where I'd want all the buy and sell action to happen at its lowest. And wow, it worked out, checked out. And I did, by the way, use this kind of consolidation point as indicator for myself, as a little catching point. And then past that, cool. Let's say I put 10 SOL in, right? You put 10 SOL or 1 SOL, doesn't matter, but I'm going to use 10 as an example. So I put 10 in there, and you go, cool, add liquidity. Now you've loaded up on a single-sided pool. Wonderful. And then what I also did, though, was put about 25%. So I took, if you wanted to use 10 SOL, maybe this is a better example, I want to commit 10 SOL to this. So I put 8 SOL in the bid ask. And then you go ahead, add your liquidity, and then you take your 2 SOL, and then you'll be able to go to your position, add liquidity, put 2 SOL, and then use spot. And then so using a little bit more to kind of add on top of your bid ask. So what you'll see visually is some of these lower guys get pushed up a bit, whereas this kind of relatively goes down. So you're kind of balancing out. I can't really show the the idea, but you start balancing. This goes up a little bit, this goes down. So you still get that drastic movement, but you're also kind of getting some more action right through here as well. And then at the bottom. So that's pretty cool. So what my strategy is now, when you look back at this chart, is I would want, and hopefully, this is all kind of gambling, like, okay, well, great. I could have exited, it went down. That was great. I could have exited, but I was hungry for more. And I let it go down right through here. Didn't expect it to go down as much, but hey, my range allowed it. Now it's bouncing off of this line that I had is my lower part of the zone, which is going to be right here relatively. So that's pretty cool. And now how I want to get out is I could just exit, because now I would have minimal soul and a lot of boo, right? Cool. It could be cool. I could exit the pool now if I just solely wanted to catch the upward movement, and that would be totally gaming it, right? So I get to collect my fees that I had created, which was about 25% of, I haven't checked it, after this movement, but it was about like this morning was about 20%, so I'd imagine like at least 25% of fees. And then you go ahead and take the boo, and then if you wanted to try and game it and make it back to the, what is that, this mark right up here, this zone, you could try and go for a 50% move. So then you could sell back into Solana after a 50% pump plus a 25. You can make that's around like 70-75% if you can game that right. So there's a lot of different things that goes into finding the right chart. And usually I just lurk in the holders chat. Everyone's like talking about a coin. I'm never there. See, the thing is, this is playing the opposite end of things. Like, I'm never there to get there at the start. So I'm there to try and make the most money, without shorting something and it going down. So like kind of playing against the price action, because I know these things. I feel like I'm better at seeing things fail and drop down than I am at things pumping, So I got to figure out how to use that to my advantage, and I'm still learning. But this is a good chart, actually. Let's do this, because I think some of us are pretty familiar with BT Cat. So let's go BT Cat, and I might actually I might throw a little bit just to explain the pool. I don't think I have a whole bunch of Solana in this wallet at the moment, but I'll just run through it as an example. So so this is interesting. It's a little different, but when I'm looking at the BT Cat, and we just use a soul so I can follow it. Numbers. Yeah, I had a previous one that I had mapped out there, which is interesting. I'm not in the pool right now, but I'll leave that up. Let's see. So 400 bin step. That's making 1.47%. That's too wide of a range. That's getting a lot, but the fees probably too high when other liquidities, other volumes probably going somewhere else, and it's probably not all here anyways. It's probably on Radium. Yeah, it looks like. So you got to compete with that. The next thing you'd look at is probably normally what we were talking about is 250 bin and 2% is like the kind of the default for meme coin in this process that I was talking about. 250 bin step, 2%. Cool. Sometimes this one right here could be pretty nice as well. But when we're looking back and forth, I'd say they're relatively close, like what they're making, in these zones, 2.5% or 2.3. It's really not a lot, but let's see, what would I? Yeah, there's not a lot of liquidity hanging out there, anyways. But just for example. All right. So I guess imagine I had more soul in this wallet, but what I would do, say, I guess I'll just do, yeah, okay. It'll look fine for this example. Sorry guys, just trying to think. For this example, I'll use 2. I'll just split it between the bid ask and the spot so you guys can see. But what I would do here is look, it already dipped a bit. So for me, I feel like this is a support zone right through there. And we could see it go down more. So this generally probably wouldn't be the chart that I was looking at. I'd be more interested right around here, like the 4, right up here at this zone. But like I said, I wanted to just run you guys through, what I would be looking at. And if we did that, I'd go right through here, take it a couple percent down. Let's do it's 3, so that's 2.699. That's right. So try to go quick with this. 2.99. Cool. Then I'm like, all right, I want to be able to catch a 50% drop, and this kind of goes based off of what you're seeing on the chart. So that leaves me with 137. And then when you look at those numbers, I go 137, and then I look at the chart of where this line's at. So for me, I think looking at this area is a good resistance zone. So dipping down here would be solid, but I really see that pocket as something that I'd imagine if we did get down a bit, we would be hitting right into here, this pocket right down there. But let's see, I got 69 bins, so either I'd have to lower my top or go back and lower some more stuff right through there. But for this example, I'm just showing you what I would typically do. And then, okay, cool. So you like that zone, wonderful. You're catching the dip, right? You can put whatever soul you want as. Sorry. Do all this fun stuff. Then it completes a transaction. Great, cool, boom. All right, and you'll see this because we're not in the zone yet, obviously. We're not in the zone. But, like I said before, you want to go, okay, well, you don't have that position there. You have it here. You click it. And then you go ahead and you go to 1. And it's a little quicker this time because, we did the bid ask. And so you could see how that's working. Usually, since the ratio was a bit different, I don't do 50-50. But just for this example, I'm just going to show you the sequence of actions. So then I throw the 1 soul into spot, and then you can also add liquidity right there as well. Just 1 soul. And I don't think it requires another 0.5 to do it, but it's refundable either way. So then boom, I just created that position. Now you can see that it kind of augmented the bid ask side a bit. And so now all you do is wait. Now you got your souls in the bin, and you wait to see the price action that develops. And of course with that, sometimes a little bit, it's good to practice, see how it goes, because percents are percents, but generally I definitely do a bit more in that, but I think that's good for the example. And just kind of based off this price action too, it could jump up, or we could actually have this zone hit. So if this is with the idea that you're looking at a chart and you're saying, okay, this is probably gonna dip, and you want a pretty good range, and that 50% allows us to use the 100 bin. That's pretty much what I've noticed is like the max. Now, quickly review that. If you did the same action on a 250 bin step deal, so 250 bin, it has a lot more of a range. And so if you're trying to go, yeah, we're right there in the middle. So if you're trying to go 250 bin, you go, what's the 5%? So I got the 5% deviance. And now, I can't put below 99%. Oh, damn. Sorry. That's not what I meant. So, what's good just to note is obviously it depends on what you're doing, but I'm just trying to see how far I could push it. So as you notice, you could get an 81% gap down with a 250 bin step. So it's really kind of basis. So like the 100% bin, was it the 100% bin? 100 bin step is moving. You could get a downside drop on a one-sided bin of about 51% down. And as you can see here, you could obtain about 81% of a range down on this guy here. So that would push you down. I mean, if you really thought a coin is something that you wanted to catch, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, and then 507. You could totally make a coin within that range. So we got the 265 around this line, and then you could go all the way down here, creating this fat, dip. And if you believed in it, depends on what you think. As long as you think it's not a total rug. That's my only caution. If you get rugged and that coin goes all the way down and it breaches your zone and goes to 0, that coin you hold is 0. So that's the forewarning there. Definitely do your research. Make sure that you got some volume. More volume than liquidity is always nice, because you need volume to earn fees. You want it to be fighting up and down. You want it to be going up and down between these little areas, back and forth. And that's really what's key to earning some capital in DLMMs. But yeah, I just wanted to share that tidbit with you guys. Just kind of something that I had learned over the weekend, and that was one of the biggest takeaways, I think, was understanding the bin steps, understanding the fees a bit, and then also how to, honestly, a really great way to take advantage of the meme coin market, and not on a different viewpoint. Instead of the pumps, I'm chasing the dump action, and not just trying to throw my bids in, trying to catch the right zone. Here, I could either exit, boom, I could exit when we're down and just got a good buy-in plus fees, or I can just let her rip, let her have some crazy price action in between, pull some out if I want. A lot of times what I do is I take the fees. So if it was in like BT Cat, maybe I just keep the fees that I'm earning and then just send that as my moon bag. Or sometimes I might sell it and repay myself into my initial capital, so I can say pay myself off for the pool, and then so once my pool's paid off, then whatever happens, I'm not really worried about it, and then I could make my decisions from there what I want to do. But it's just some strategies maybe someone can use. I'm definitely starting to use that, and hopefully with Boo at the moment is my big test right now. So we'll see how she pays off, But yeah, if anyone had any questions, of course, feel free to ask, because I know sometimes this stuff gets a little janky, little confusing sometimes. Yeah. Nice. Check Boo. See, I'll refresh this one more time and see. Yep. Still got that buy zone there. Yes, sweet. Yeah, I think that's all I got for today. I think we looked through a bunch of different Thor calls. Nothing. Oh, it's making me re-sign in. Nothing too crazy. We're just kind of watching some zones, seeing if they bounce off certain areas. I think the Solana to 230 and 200 range is a pretty solid one to look out for. Bonk didn't really have any calls to check, but just trying to log in here. Yes, this is one more. Let's see. Didn't really check this one yet, so I guess as a last little coin to look at, of course, BTC. I didn't check that out. Beautiful, of course. Oops. Set some lines going on here. Definitely going to keep these lower ones, 52. If we ever get back there, we will have those going on. We had, I think, what was it, last week? Let's see, sorry, I'm going to check. It was the 6th, so always backdating ourselves a little bit. November 5th and 6th, yeah, that's a day we were having some fun. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we were pretty stoked looking at the charts that day. And that was a fat buy zone too, that we had just in case it came back down into that range. We were just saying, hey, looks like Thor is suggesting that based off of its invalidation line support and then now support. This was a fattest resistance line, so I didn't delete it because I believe that if we ever get back down here, entirely possible, that's going to be a great support and a big thing to look out for. Now we move up in the world here. 82 seems like this short did not give a shit about that short. Let's see. So we got 82k-ish. This new buy for the 1 hour, and 85 it's saying, right? So it's a pretty decent little gap it wants. Always just try to. It's like okay, 3%. So that's a 3% box. That's not entirely crazy to have to look at there. Just kind of making the two calls. Sometimes I get confused, or you get a little twisted sometimes, and I got two different calls. Which one do I take? Especially when they're on the lower time frame or even the higher time frame. If they're close enough, within a few percent, then yeah, it's worthy. Kind of make it a box, and then we see BTC dancing around in there, bouncing back and forth. It's a good time to maybe chip in if you wanted to take advantage of some action. This coming up is a 5%, move to 56 on the 1 hour at least. You're looking at 3 to 7%, which is not bad. Just looks like if we go back down there, it's gonna kind of be hanging out in this zone. 93. Let's see, 93k. We'll use the 1 hour as our invalidation line. 93.2. So this is kind of the next zone. I think Thor is telling us at the moment we have no other calls. So just kind of using what we got. It looks like 93.2. Let's say 93.3 looks more like it. Kind of like a little top resistance line. If we break that, I think we're gonna have some more up action. And if it remains, if you've seen it bounce off of this line and just keep getting rejected from getting under it after breaking through it, that's an indication we'll be going higher. If it bounces off and you're seeing, it's getting rejected from it, it's not breaking through, that's a sign that we could be seeing some more downward movement. And then knowing that, hey, get ready, got some calls to take advantage of. That's at least, with what little information we got some short time frame swings I think we could be ready for, which totally looks like something that's a small retrace. But we're bound for some small retraces, and I think it's a good thing too. It makes it fun. And like I said, when we have these wider gaps, we get wider volatility and more fun to be swing trading. And you have Thor to be using at your disposal to take advantage of those swings. Something that I didn't have last bull market, and honestly, it's already proven to be very, very helpful. So, yeah, it's a good week, and appreciate you guys